Growth factors involved in regeneration and repair. Epidermal growth factor, that is EGF, transforming growth factor alpha, TGF alpha, hepatocyte growth factor, HGF or scatter factor. Hepatocyte growth factor is known as scatter factor. VEGF stands for vascular endothelial growth factor. PDGF stands for platelet derived growth factor. FGF stands for fibroblast growth factor, including acidic FGF1 and basic FGF2, transforming growth factor beta, and keratinocyte growth factor, that is KGF. Keratinocyte growth factor, that is KGF. So, growth factors involved in repair and regeneration are epidermal growth factor, transforming growth factor alpha, and transforming growth factor beta. Platelet derived growth factor, vascular endothelial growth factor, platelet derived growth factor, vascular endothelial growth factor. Hepatocyte growth factor is also known as scatter factor. Fibroblast growth factor, including acidic FGF1, basic FGF2. KGF stands for keratinocyte growth factor. Vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF, source is mesenchymal cell. Function stimulates proliferation of endothelial cells and increases vascular permeability. Vascular endothelial growth factor is, the source is mesenchymal cells. The function is stimulate proliferation of the endothelial cell and increase vascular permeability. Stimulate the proliferation of endothelial cell and increase the vascular permeability. Then epidermal growth factor. Source is activated macrophages, salivary glands, keratinocytes, and many other cells. Activated macrophage, salivary gland, and keratinocytes are the sources for EGF. The function is mitogenic for many cell types, stimulates epithelial cell migration. Epithelial growth factor stimulates epithelial cell migration and stimulates the formation of granulation tissue. Transforming growth factor alpha is, the sources are activated macrophages, keratinocytes, and many other cells. They stimulate the proliferation of hepatocytes and many other epithelial cells. TGF alpha stimulates the proliferation of hepatocytes and many other epithelial cells. Hepatocyte growth factor is also known as scatter factor. The source is fibroblast and stromal cells in the liver and endothelial cells. Scatter factor enhances the proliferation of hepatocytes and other epithelial cells. It increases cell motility. Then KGF, keratinocyte growth factor, source is fibroblast. It stimulates keratinocyte migration, proliferation, and differentiation. So the growth factors involved in regeneration and repair are epidermal growth factor, transforming growth factor alpha, transforming growth factor beta, hepatocyte growth factor or scatter factor, vascular endothelial growth factor, platelet derived growth factor, and keratinocyte growth factor, fibroblast growth factor including FGF1 and FGF2.